All right. Welcome, everyone, to There and Back Again, A Friend's Tale. So we literally just came up with that name about
3 minutes ago.
Yeah, 3 minutes ago. So we understand that there's some problem with from grammar here because you can't use an article and then use a plural, but get over it. It works best for the name of it. So if that makes you stop watching, I guess I'm sorry we didn't start in a good place, I guess. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so my name is Father Jared Cohn. So been a priest in the area, but pastor of Holy Angels, and you are.
And I'm Grace Weatherhead, just a regular person. Well, that's not even true.
No, you're not just a regular person. You are,
A weird regular person.
Well, I'm a weird priest, so
Well,
you decide which is worse. So. My weirdness affects the lives of my people, so.
that's true.
So, if you didn't guess by the name of the podcast, we're here to talk about just Lord of the Rings and our love for, my love for the movies. Grace also has a deep love for the movies as well, and the books too that I read growing up because I was, as somebody put it earlier, we're nerds, so that's the way it goes. But yeah, we were talking about one time. I don't even know how the conversation come up. Do you remember
When we were talking about doing
Yes.
a podcast?
Yeah, like how do?
Well, I know I posed the question to you one time. I said, would you ever consider doing a Lord of the Rings podcast?
Right.
And I don't know when it was when you actually said.
Yeah. Right.
Well, because you said you wouldn't want to do it on your own.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So I said I wouldn't want to do it on my own, and then one time we were talking about it, and I was like, "Well, Grace, do you want to do it with me?" And you were kind of very timid about it, and your mom was like, "She wants to do it with you." So, so
Thanks, Mom.
yeah. So thanks to
You were
Mama
right.
Weatherhead for getting this all started. So yeah. So that's where it all kind of started, and why do you love Lord of the Rings? I mean, there's so much love, but I mean,
Yeah. I think this is going to sound like super general, and I'll try to like explain a little bit more, but I think just the beauty of it.
Yeah.
The beauty of the simplicity, I think especially like in the Hobbits and like kind of the, it's just very surprising that like such a small, creature can fulfill a mission like that, of course with the help of many, but so there's like particular beauty in that, and then also just the bravery and the courage, and then is
like,
beautiful.
Just like in the prologue in the movies, wherever Galadriel says like the time will soon come when the hobbits will rule the fate of many, and so the fortunes of many, I think, or something to that effect. So so there's like a deep beauty in that. So nice. Yeah. I think for a similar reason I love it too. And I think also it's because it's fictional history, but like everything that happens, you can just tell like there's like all these other stories that come with it. Like, why do the dwarves and elves not like each other? Like you just know, you pick that up, but then you know that there's more to it than that you're just trying to make like tension in the plot. Like, that there's like a whole history behind all of that. And like, and just like a whole history of the ring, there's like, happened like 3,000 years ago, whenever the owner was first destroyed, and now like it's coming back. And so just like, cause I'm a history guy, so I just love that aspect of it. But like you said, even just the fact that, J.R.R. Tolkien, the author, he wanted to imbue it with like that simplicity, that he had a deep love for simple folk. And then he puts them at the center of like this epic adventure. And quite literally, like the fighting is a distraction from like the real mission, which is to destroy the ring. And that's just kind of like there's something very beautiful about just the simplicity that's behind all of that, that it's like the simple folk, these like 3-foot people are the ones who, save the day in the end. And so just like how influential even the littlest being can be. And I think that you're right. That's like, there's something to be loved and admired. So and there's like, and just again, like the history of it. So there's like all kinds of different people, so different races, the elves, hobbits, dwarves, and then all the different places they go to. Like every place, it just seems like it has its own feel. So, So with that, like which place in, you think like the world of Middle Earth, the world of Lord of the Rings would you most want to visit? If you only could go to one place in Middle Earth, where would it be?
So my answer is going to, okay, I'm going to tell you my gut, like my initial
sure
answer that comes to mind, and it's Rivendell.
Yeah.
Because again, beauty, like
yes.
it is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And Father Jared said, but he read the books. I have not read the books. I don't know how it's described in the books, but in the movies, gorgeous.
Yes.
It is gorgeous. And so like, yeah. So there, I do, of course, like the Shire would be great. And even like there's part of me that wants to go to Mordor.
Yeah.
Right? Like it would be so cool.
Yeah.
But Rivendell is my answer.
Rivendell. And the Shire would be cool too, because I would actually be tall there, so that would be kind of fun. Just to be a giant for once. So that would be kind of cool. But yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what about Mordor? Like, what do you?
I think like it just gives me the gotta go. You know, like the urgency of mission and just like being surrounded by such darkness and evil.
Yes.
Like puts a little pep in my step.
Huh. Very fascinating. Not exactly the answer I was expecting. Just like I just kind of expected like the landscape like seems horrifying, but also seems like interesting to observe.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. And I have a fascination with volcanoes.
Yes.
So there's
really?
that. Yes.
Wait, I did not know this about you. Sorry. Grace and I have been friends for quite a while, and I did not know that she had
Yeah.
Really?
I don't really know. Actually, when did this start? It might have actually been when I watched Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think no. So I watched a movie about a volcano erupting back in the 8th grade. So that might have been kind of like the start of just my intrigue with it. Like that's scary, but like, yeah, it's really cool.
That is.
I kind of want to climb a volcano. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, there's probably some. Oh yeah, Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But so what about you? Where would you?
I don't know. I'm split too, because like, and they're actually interestingly right back to back in the story. Like I can't make up my mind. Like Moria, because you know, I like the dark, you know, but also just the idea of like complete underground, like stone city and like these deep mines that like, there's like a sense in which you could never explore all of it. And it just goes on forever. So it's like, I don't know, that just seems like really cool. And also, you know, like all of the metalworking, as you know, welder, blacksmithing, all that stuff. So that seems just kind of fascinating to go to Moria. And also maybe just kind of like a little bit of the terror of it, just like the idea of, having to like get through all of it. It's just kind of like daunting, and also the danger that kind of lurks. So that's it. And then the other one is like the complete opposite reason is Lothlorien. So Lorien, you know, after the Fellowship gets out of Moria, or that's where Galadriel is reigning. And so Lorien, in the movies, like they do a good job of depicting it, but in the book, it's described as almost like there's still like a little bit of like the original beauty in like the first days of creation. So it's like a little piece of Eden, I guess, almost.
Okay. Who wouldn't want to go there?
Yeah. So it's like this place to where like it's described in the books as kind of a place to where there's still like a ringing of the first days of like whenever the godlike figure in Lord of the Rings, Iluvatar, is like still like lives, you know, like as it's put like in like I think how they put it in the books is like in Rivendell, you hear many songs about the days of old. In Lorien, those things are still alive. Ooh. So it's kind of those are, neither of those two places were even on like my radar. I did not even think about those. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So kind of the idea of returning to, just the idea of Eden and like the absolute, like similar to Rivendell is like interesting. The Fellowship experiences that, but like different points along the journey, there's these places that they stop that are like, you know, like I think again, like even Aragorn in the books describes like in the Lorien, and he's like, I'll finally be able to sleep soundly without fear for the first time since Rivendell and throws himself on the ground and falls into a deep sleep for hours. And so just like the sense of care, beauty, and just like innocence that exists, home that just exists there is like, that also makes it very, so for different reasons, Moria or Lorien. Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Yeah. Huh. So, so that's where I would want to go. So, and also because it's kind of a place to where there's a bit, this episode is about mercy. And there's actually a little bit of mercy that's shown in Lothlorien too.
Yes.
So, so a number of different instances, but one of the first instances is that because in Moria, the dwarves woke up the Balrog, they're actually banned from Lorien. So whenever they let in Gimli, it's actually an act of mercy as soon as they actually let him into their realm. So, so it's like a new day for the dwarves and elves, like in their relationship, because it's been strained ever since Moria. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually where, like in the books, that's where Legolas and Gimli's friendship actually begins, is during their time there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know that one.
Yeah. So with that, so this episode we're going to discuss mercy, but before we get started with that, I guess, should I lead a prayer or do you want to lead a prayer?
How about you?
Okay, I'll lead it. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty and ever-living God, who through fiction, especially through the work of J.R.R. Tolkien, have brought so much joy to so many people, giving people so many insights into life, into reality, into friendship, into so many things, including the gift of mercy and the role that mercy plays in bringing about a better world and bringing about a brighter tomorrow and bringing about hope in our lives. We ask that as we discuss the theme of mercy in Lord of the Rings, that you might help us to be more merciful in everyday lives, to help us to show mercy and pity to those most in need of it, but then also to show mercy and pity to ourselves in those times where we perhaps fall short of your call, and those times where we get frustrated because we're not perfect, and allow ourselves to experience the fact that we are indeed loved by you as your beloved children. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
I hope that didn't make too much of a sound. So.
I doubt it.
Yeah. So I think, did you have any initial thoughts on just like mercy, or what was you?
Well, I guess I feel like mercy is a really good place to start.
Yes.
Because as we know, like without mercy, the ring would not have been destroyed.
Yes.
And so I think mercy is always a good place to start.
Yes.
But so I think, yeah.
I think so. And I guess I just want to start off by reading just the quote. So this is in Moria in the movie, but just that Frodo kind of cries out, "What a pity that Bilbo did not stab that vile creature when he had a chance." Speaking of Gollum. Pity. And then Gandalf responds, "Pity. It was pity that stayed his hand. Pity and mercy. Not to strike without need. And he has been well rewarded, Frodo. Be sure that he took so little hurt from that evil and escaped in the end, because he began his ownership of the ring so, with pity." That's just like a mic drop, kind of like, because it's such a reminder, I think it's so easy for me to want to jump to the conclusion of like whenever, somebody either wrongs me or I see something wrong in the world to like, where is God? When is he going to finally like drop some justice on these wrongdoers and these, and so just kind of that wisdom from Gandalf in that moment to be like, it's such a good thing that Bilbo started his ownership of the ring from a place of mercy, and just the beauty of that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on?
No.
Yeah, but I do think it's because that's kind of important, because this is a feeling I've always had, or more recently I began to have, is Bilbo may actually be like the most virtuous character in the entire Lord of the Rings saga. Here's why.
Yeah.
So let me argue why. Is because, well, like this point.
Yeah.
So like whenever Smeagol takes the ring, he kills his friend Deagle. So he kills a friend. Bilbo spares the life of a rather decrepit creature. So he has no relationship with this creature. This creature obviously wants to kill him, and yet he shows him mercy whenever he takes the ring. And the ring usually like is this sort of like has such a force on people that it actually leads them to, well, want to possess it so badly that they're willing to kill even friends for it. So the fact that he's willing to even spare an enemy is just like kind of incredible.
When he could have really easily killed him too.
Yes, that's right.
Really easily, because Smeagol didn't know he was there, and he could have just...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's like part of it. But then also I realized that he's the only character, or the only ring bearer that willingly let go of the ring.
Oh.
So he's the only one that actually like lets it go.
Yeah.
And which I think speaks to like, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of incredible.
That is.
Yeah.
That is. Wow. I've never thought of that. Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Good job, Bilbo.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry for being so underrated.
Yeah. I know. It's like, here's this character. I mean, like, and obviously Frodo was very much so, because he obviously walks to the heart of Mordor, which is a little bit different to carry the ring.
Sure.
In that context. But still, that was just one thing I observed. I was like, oh. I realized that even though Gandalf kind of like gets big, he still willingly like lets go of it in the end, with a little bit of encouragement from Gandalf, obviously. So who knows if Gandalf had been at Mount Doom, maybe Frodo would have been able to let it go, but who knows? So, but yeah, just that aspect is kind of cool.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's always kind of just one of those great.
Great line.
Great line. So, he took so little hurt from the evil. I don't know. I love that. Yeah.
Is that line in the book?
That's in the book. So that's extended. Yeah.
Okay.
So I took it from, I was like, I want to read the whole one because, again, Peter Jackson did a great job. So that's not to cast any sort of aspersions against what he did, because he was cramped for time, and there's some things that are easier to portray in a book than you could ever portray in a film. And I think even that full conversation doesn't quite have the same effect as it does whenever it's on paper and you can go back and like read it. I think the way that Peter Jackson portrayed it in the movie allows it to impact you, but then you don't have to like rewind and like listen to it again and again and again and again. Whereas in the book, you can like go back and like, I think the first time I hit that line, I was like, kind of kept on going back and again and again. I had to read it like 5 times until I could finally move on. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to read the books. I know I have to anyway, but just some more encouragement.
Yeah.
And then I think in the movie around that time, and maybe it's in the book too, but do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment.
Yes.
He tells, which is just like very like stern kind of like warning from Gandalf. But I think it's like really beautiful, and you kind of see in the movie just kind of how it hits Frodo. Like, ooh, he means business. Like, this is not my place to be saying that. Like, I wish Smeagol was dead.
Yes. Yeah. And like, is there any way that kind of impacts you personally?
Maybe just kind of like a simple thing, but like giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
Not that like Frodo had any reason to give Smeagol the benefit of the doubt. Kind of knowing, his history and everything like that. But in some ways, I think that's a good reminder for me, because sometimes my default is like, how dare you?
Yeah. How dare you? First question, how dare you?
Yeah. First of all, how dare you? But yeah, just like this reminder, and like, I know you wrote this down because we talked about it before, but there's a quote from somewhere. It was on a video that I watched.
So it's from Faramir speaking to Eowyn.
Oh, okay. So he actually said, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I heard it from a person commenting on Lord of the Rings, but it is, pity is the gift of a gentle heart.
Yes.
And I think that's, a very beautiful way to look at pity.
Yeah.
And also like a check yourself.
Check yourself. Yeah.
you know?
But I mean, also it's kind of like, but then it's also on the receiving end of it is the thing that I find fascinating about that. Because Pharaoh's saying it to Eowyn because obviously she's a woman who goes into battle. So she's like really determined to prove herself. And Faramir shows pity and she kind of spurns it. And he says, one should not spurn pity because pity is the gift of a gentle heart. Mm-hmm. And that, yeah. So that's like one part that hit me because I don't like to, yeah, because we don't like to receive pity or mercy, I think, so often for.
Yeah, pride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, or am I alone in that, or do you find it also hard to receive like pity from people? I don't know. I've gotten better at it, but.
Yeah. That's a great question. One I'm going to have to ponder. I feel like in some ways, like I want pity.
Yeah. Sure.
Which is not necessarily a good thing either because like, self-pity can come in there.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know actually.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I encountered in myself, not even so much as like, I don't want to like receive that gift as much as I don't think I'm deserving of it. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that kind of make sense? I don't know.
That does.
Yeah.
That does.
Yeah. You know, like here I am in the confessional again and I have to ask the Lord for more forgiveness and just like feeling totally unworthy of receiving that gift. Of course we are, but yeah, just like.
Yeah. What did I do to deserve
the
goodness that's coming my way?
Yes,
all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Do you feel that way in your friendships too? Or is it mostly just like with the Lord, which is a friendship too, but.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, in many ways I struggle to like accept that I deserve to be, forgiven, but even just like, I think like the reason why I even like the term pity is because it's also like even just kindnesses. Like I'll never forget, it was in my first year of college seminary, you know, Father Sean and I were going to like, I think, what was it? I didn't have, like, we went out to eat somewhere and like, I couldn't pay. And I realized whenever we got there, so like before we ordered like that, I didn't have money on me. And he's like, oh, I'll cover you. And I was like, no, I just won't eat. And he's like, you know, like, I just want to like, basically, I just want to like do something nice for you. Let me like do it. I know what his exact words are. It was like a little bit stronger. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, fair enough. Like that's totally true. And like, so that was a great lesson of just like in friendship for me to like accept that people actually want to care for me and I should let them care for me. You know, like obviously I can't take advantage of it and be just like a freeloader, but if somebody wants to show me pity or kindness, like let it happen.
Yeah.
You know,
give them room to be virtuous.
Yes.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. What about you?
You mean like
God, friends?
Yeah.
Random strangers, whatever.
Yeah. I think in some ways I'm more readily, I don't know what I want to say, accepting of the pity of the Lord.
Sure.
Because I know that that's who he is. And it's not that I deserve it in any way. But that's who he is. But I think sometimes where it's harder is in my friendships.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a thought and it disappeared. But
sure.
Yeah. I think it is harder to receive pity or even just like in your example, just kindness from friends, because it's like, well, what did I ever
Yeah.
What did I ever do to deserve this? But then also, like, what have I ever done to benefit you? Like, just this tendency, at least within myself, I feel like it's a natural tendency, but to like be at like,
to keep the ledger.
Yeah. Like, are we balanced now? Probably not.
Yes.
I've got work to do.
Dang it.
Dang it.
You just, by doing that, you just put me in debt again.
Yes,
Thanks.
Exactly. Which is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think that's where.
That's a great, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah. So what do you do whenever you find yourself doing that though? Like, what do you do?
I think something I'm learning is like, kind of like your example with Father Sean is like, okay, this person wants to do this. Like, I'm not forcing their hand to be kind or generous towards me. And try to have the perspective of, the Lord is loving me through this person, so let him
do it.
Yeah, which easier said than done.
Sure.
But yeah,
that's a great No, that's cool. So and I think that's even like a little bit of what I love, even in the aspect of mercy throughout Lord of the Rings, is like, again, Bilbo shows pity to, Smeagol, Gollum, obviously, and then Frodo does later, but then even like it's suggested in the backstory that also Aragorn and Gandalf both spare him at different points because they kind of like had to track him down to see what he had told basically Sauron. And so they spare him. And so it's kind of this weird thing that's like throughout the story that ledger is never returned. It's just totally pity. And then like in different points, Gollum for a brief time looks like he might rehabilitate, and then he like stabs everybody in the back. And so it's just kind of fascinating that it's never really repaid until the very end. And it's not even repaid out of the kindness of Gollum's heart, but just sheer accident, which is kind of, weird.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. This might be a little bit like off the track a little bit, but as you're going through the different people in the fellowship that like show pity to Smeagol, I'm going to say something a little controversial.
Go ahead.
So I really like Sam. Okay. How can you not? But I think the reason why why he's not one of my favorites is because you never see that he shows any pity towards Smeagol. At least I haven't seen that in the movies. Like from the get-go, he is suspicious of him, and which he has reason to. Okay, he has reason to. But my natural like tendency is like Smeagol. Like I have an affection for Smeagol. And so the fact that Sam never shows an ounce of that is why I struggle with him. I just realized
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a great insight. I never would have thought of that before.
Yeah. I mean, he's incredibly loyal and has so many great qualities, but.
So what do you think? So obviously he's loyal, and then he's always there for Frodo and is able to like lift up his spirits. Like there's kind of that encouragement that he's always willing to give, and is willing to sacrifice like a comfortable life in the Shire. But what do you think it is that kind of like, is it just that he's perhaps a suspicious person at heart, or do you think that there's anything else that might be at play and why he doesn't, unlike other characters, he doesn't show pity?
Well, I feel like he doesn't show pity to Smeagol because he's so protective of Frodo. Yeah. I think that's a big part of it, is that like feeling like Frodo might be threatened in the least bit, like makes him already just dislike the character of Smeagol. I don't know. That's a good question.
Huh. But no, that's great. So sorry, I just want to sit with that one for a little bit. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know. That might be very offensive to some people because I know he's like a lot of people's favorite character.
Yeah, how did Sean Astin get to play that role? Like, Rudy, the movie Rudy, like everybody knows. So that's a sports movie that everybody loves, and he gets to play the very lovable underdog.
Oh.
And then in Lord of the Rings, he plays the very lovable underdog. So this is like that's the role that he was born to play, apparently. So.
Apparently. Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. So this is like a little raw, or like the idea itself is. But I wonder if it's also like maybe a little bit of even jealousy, because quite clearly because I think that he recognizes very clearly early that like Gollum and Frodo share an experience that Sam will never like understand. Mm-hmm. Now he and Frodo will obviously always be, probably besties, but mm-hmm. But I think that there's maybe a little bit of, I wonder if there's even a little bit of that at play, that like the fact that Frodo gives such attention to Gollum, mm-hmm. and even the fact that there's clearly like something that they both understand that Sam can't be a part of. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if that's even part of it. I don't know.
It would make sense.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. I don't know if that's described more in the book or not, so I can't remember.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It would make sense. I think that would stir jealousy in my heart.
Yes, that's why I brought it up. Is like, oh yeah, that would definitely be something to where I would be like, definitely jealous of, like, he's my friend, not yours. Like,
right, back off.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's so yeah, that was just a random thought. So, but I do think that's and I wonder if, like, because a lot of times people will say that Sam's like the real hero. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if that's why Tolkien, like, obviously from his writings, disagreed that Frodo and Bilbo were like the real heroes of the story. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's just because, like you said, like the fact that both of them are clearly capable of mercy and pity. Mm-hmm. And even that's why, like, Aragorn and Gandalf are portrayed as like the wisdom characters of the Fellowship, like the ones who are clearly like the leaders of all of it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. But that's a great insight, Grace. Thanks. I'm going to have to chew on that for a while.
Sorry if I just, wrecked your favorite character. Was he your favorite?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I have different, like, it's hard for me to choose one character. I absolutely love Frodo. And I mean, I think from the books, I love, like, obviously all the hobbits as well. But I think even Aragorn is like a great character in the book, in the book especially, and Gandalf. I think Gandalf might actually be my favorite. I think if I had to choose one that's like my favorite, it's just because, just clearly like a servant of servants in just a very different way. And also in the book, it comes out a little bit more, but he has a very hot temper, like a very quick temper. And so it's like something I can get behind. I'm like, I get that.
Yeah.
So, because, like the fool of the two kind of line. So, yeah.
Oh yeah. True.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Kind of, that's one place in the movies where it kind of is shown like it's very quick kind of temper. So,
yeah. So,
yeah. What is Frodo probably your favorite? Is that assuming too much?
No, that's not assuming too much. Frodo and Arwen.
That's a good one.
And I have like a big long reason why.
Okay.
I don't know if I should share in this episode or whenever we get to, I think it's our next episode.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. So this is a reason to stay tuned. Find out why Arwen is Grace's favorite character. So we have cliffhangers. This is great.
Yeah. Oof. Pros.
Building.
Obviously not. Yeah.
Obviously not. Yeah. But even along that point, like with Aragorn, I even think it's like his love for Boromir, even after he betrays Frodo, and his ability to like assure him that the fact that he repented of what he did to Frodo to try and take the ring from him, but then also his willingness to sacrifice himself for Merry and Pippin. Mm-hmm. It's just like a test, and like to assure him that was enough to redeem him. That shows his desire to right what he did wrong. Mm-hmm. And so I just love that kind of scene. Like I've heard somebody comment on just like that aspect that shows that Aragorn is not like your typical kind of like action hero kind of like character. Mm-hmm. Like he's able to show like this deep compassion for a dying friend. So he's like cut someone's head off 1 minute, and the next minute he's like able to run over and like comfort Boromir as he's dying and assure him.
Yeah.
And even like give him a kiss on the forehead as he dies, and just like kind of that little act there. But yeah, that's kind of like one of those great little acts of mercy.
Yes.
That Boromir finally accepts Aragorn as his king after having denied him that kind of right. And then his king immediately forgives him. It's kind of, beautiful. So
it is. Yeah. I was kind of thinking about that scene. And like in the movie, at least when he's dying, Boromir is pretty much despairing. Like as he's dying in the earlier stages, I guess he says like the world of men will fall.
Yes.
But Aragorn's right there to encourage him. And he says like, you fought bravely.
Yes.
And, after Boromir is able to receive and accept that mercy, that's when he's able to say, you're my king.
Yes.
My captain.
Yes.
But just like the process of like, all is lost, I failed, the world of men will fail. But then the encouragement, and then, okay, you're my king.
Yeah.
Just the love and the affection that comes after the mercy that he receives, I think is like just a beautiful model of how even like the confessional works.
That's what I was just thinking too, man.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that is like the confessional is like a lot of times I go in like despairing of like, I'm a failure. I'm going here just because I have nothing else to make me feel better at this moment. So like, I'm going here because like I don't know where else to go right now. And then I'm able to experience in that moment, like you said, like then I'm able to acknowledge him as my king, like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah. Nice. Did you have anything else with that?
No. Well, I guess kind of going back to like when Boromir is asking for forgiveness, and Aragorn says you fought bravely. Like it's kind of this like twofold thing of it's mercy. It's like, okay, I forgive you. And also you're good. Yes. Like he kind of hits both those points just by saying you fought bravely.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I think, again, a beautiful example of reconciliation.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I guess I never would have pulled that out until, you kind of talked about all those different elements of that interaction. So that's, Yeah. So Aragorn, a ball and figure. So
He is.
And even Boromir at the end, which is kind of one of the cool things. He's able, after he made Denethor, he kind of like, oh, this explains Boromir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's cool. Yeah. But then, so like mercy, obviously, and forgiveness. And I mean, you see that a number of times, even like, again, Aragorn even shows that to Legolas, like whenever he despairs. Like it's interesting that Aragorn's like I guess that's why I like him, is because I can't identify with that, but I appreciate characters in my life that can, that are always kind of like ready to just fight. I guess not like in the physical sense, but just like ready to like still keep on taking on life at the Lord's side. And Aragorn just seems to be that, because then he also forgives Legolas, who's an elf, and elves are supposed to be like these higher beings in Middle Earth, and like Legolas is the one who despairs, and Aragorn's the one who like, like who doesn't, and says, well, we still got to do the right thing, so we're going to die alongside these.
I will die as one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so there's those little moments of mercy for despair. It's like really, really important to the story of encouraging other characters. Yeah. And I think even to your point, Arwen, I think does that probably for Aragorn at a number of different points. So
she does a lot for Aragorn.
Yeah. She does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yeah. But then I think even just the aspect of not even mercy as forgiveness, but even just the mercies that the Lord bestows, or like just the gifts that are bestowed upon us. And I think Galadriel kind of does that for the Fellowship. Because they like, obviously they just run from Moria, chased by orcs, Balrog. They lose Gandalf, who's, the leader of the Fellowship. She gives them rest and gives them like a safe space to like recover and grieve. But then even, as they're sent off, this is like, I think in the extended version of the movie, maybe a little bit more, but she gives each of them gifts. Like obviously, that like they give, like in the regular cut, like you see her give Frodo like the light of, I forget what the name of the star is, but like their brightest star, like she gives him like a vial of the light of that star, and then gives, and like again in Providence, like gives Sam like these seeds that will be planted as trees, because in the books the Shire is leveled, is destroyed, and so Sam goes around the Shire and plants all those seeds that she gives him. Because they grow very quickly. And so within a year, like there's beauty back in the Shire, and it begins to recover after their return. And so so like that, and then gives like Gimli, again a dwarf, gives him a like strand of her hair. And that's like, one reason why that's like so profound is because there was apparently like an elven lord who asked for that from her, and she refused him because she knew that he wanted it for like jealous purposes.
Oh, okay.
But then she gives it to a dwarf who wants it for like the most pure of reasons, and he ends up like building something very beautiful to like encase this little piece of Eden within Middle Earth.
Interesting.
After she departs. So yeah.
I never knew all that.
Yeah. So it's just like, these cool little things that she does to just like give gifts that will eventually give light and like encouragement in times of darkness and decay. Yeah. I don't know.
That's interesting. And those little gifts can be like translated to just the grace of God, in our own lives, in different things, but then also in the sacraments specifically.
Yeah.
Confession.
Sacraments.
Yeah. When we're in like, one of our lowest places, which we can say the Fellowship was in.
Yes.
After leaving Moria, and being given the light.
Yeah. Yeah. And I even think like not necessarily like that gifts are everything, but the little things that people give you. Like, and again, not even necessarily something physical, but like a word of encouragement from a friend on a day where you're just having a rough day, and like, why did they send that to me today? Those kind of things. And even just like little gifts, like I'm sure I could probably list off like little gifts that people have given me that I still treasure, and like on dark days, like I can pull it out and be like, somebody loves me.
Yeah.
And that's like a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the little gifts that are given to us.
That strengthen you.
Yeah. So, mercy.
It's dope.
It's dope. It's pretty dope. We're talking, that's what the youth say these days, right?
Yeah. Sure. How would I know?
You're younger than I am.
I am, but do you know how much like slang I had to learn this summer when I was working with?
Really?
Yeah, like there was so much I like did not, there's still so much I don't know. But it was like, I remember talking to one of the, I worked with high schoolers this summer, and I was talking with one of my coworkers, whatever, before the summer started. I'm like, you're going to have to give me a list of like the lingo that people have these days.
Was there any of it that you took to by the end of the summer?
There were, and now I can't remember them, because I remember like having like a moment of realization when I got home. I'm like, oh, and I think there were two things that I started saying that I was like, I have not said this before. One thing, and maybe this isn't like a youth thing, maybe it's just like, maybe it is, but like people, I would tell them, so this is so unrelated.
Who cares?
We're already there. It's too late. People would like, they'd ask me like, for example, at one point someone asked me what my Myers-Briggs was, I think, or whatever, one of those personality things. And I said, and she was like, oh, that checks out for you. So the phrase checks out, have you ever heard that?
I guess not in reference to like a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's something I heard like repeatedly over the summer, and I had to use like context clues. I'm like, okay, I think I know now what that means and how to use that. And so basically in my brain, it means like that adds up in this situation. Like that makes sense.
Yes.
So this girl, knowing like the little bit that she did about me, it checked out that I was the personality type that I am. And so that's one thing I brought home. And there was something else I can't remember, but yeah, it's crazy when you like how quickly you start changing your behaviors when you spend time with someone.
That is very true. Yeah, because this summer with college seminarians, there was some slang that I was using for a period of time, and now I don't use anymore. But it was like same thing. So I'm gonna have to send this to both of them now and say, well, you got to watch until however long we are in this. You get mentioned, but the same sort of thing. Like, it was just such a funny thing that they were trying to teach. They were trying to teach me slang, and they were actually more successful. And then whenever Father Aaron came, then like he was gonna be working the high school or something. He was like asking them like about slang, and he was like, I don't get it. And we were both like, well, I'm like, give it some time. After a while, you start to get it. Like, based. I still don't really get what that means. That's the one that I never really got used to. So
I don't know. That's that
based. I don't know if that means good or bad. Actually, still now I forget.
All right.
So I'm still confused.
Shout out to my younger siblings who probably know what that means. Please inform us, because I have no idea.
I don't know. I forget how that's exactly used, but like, because they would say that with the kids at Ultimate Frisbee each week, and I'm like, what's that? I'm like, I don't know what that means, and I was like too proud to ask. So. Because I didn't want to show my age. So So oh my gosh, ridiculous. So have mercy on us and tell us what that means.
Nice tie in there. Get us back to where
we're back finally where we're supposed to be. So but I think that's even like maybe that meandering's like a good reference to even the fellowship, because they certainly did not take the shortest route to Mordor. That's for sure. So there's a lot of meandering and and like Merry and Pippin go all over the place and like so in some ways maybe it's fitting that we meander too. We'll tie it in somehow, but and somehow in providence that'll end up working out for the best. So do you have anything else to add to
this entire discussion?
I don't know if this seems like we'll bring it to the end. I don't know. But I'm not real sure if it is or not. So.
There is one thing. And like I want to mention it, but I realize it could be like a really long discussion, but we'll just roll with it.
Yeah.
So something that like, obviously, the pity that Bilbo and Frodo and all the other people that you mentioned have on Smeagol, like ultimately does not change him.
Yes.
And this kind of tears me up, So like I had a real issue with the ending when I first watched it. And it still is something that like I've come to accept, I've come to terms with it, but it's still just like a really hard pill to swallow.
Sure.
Because you really want...
Because you want to root for him.
You want to root for him, and you think like... You see glimpses of hope. Yes. Especially in the second movie. Yes. Whenever he's battling with himself, and in the end it seems like his real self wins, and he's finally maybe able to get past the self-hatred that he's been living in for so long. Yeah. But then obviously it is not so. And so you just really like hope that the pity and the mercy will be enough to save him. And I thought, like, why? Like, why was it not enough? Why wasn't the love, maybe love is a strong word, but the love that Frodo had for him? Yeah. Whatever. The pity he showed him.
Yeah, I think you could maybe call it love. Because again, I think there's something that Frodo can identify with in Gollum, and that enables him to love him in a way that I think other people wouldn't necessarily understand. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you think that should be enough, but I think it just kind of like my own reflection and like, it's about to get pretty real. Because it hits a bit too close to home in some ways, but I think the reason is because he can never forgive himself.
Interesting. So elaborate on that.
So I think if Smeagol was able to fully accept that that there were people who were willing to love him and be there for him and care for him and support him and encourage him. And if he was able to forgive himself from, killing his friend and all the other things of his life, that he would not have, there would have been redemption essentially, and it wouldn't end in the fires of Mount Doom as it did. And so that was just something I was thinking about, because it was like, why was that never enough?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, the same is true in our own lives. When we struggle to forgive ourselves, we really struggle to accept the forgiveness of others.
Yeah.
And without mercy, there is no mission.
Yeah.
Because a world without mercy is a world in despair. And I don't think anybody despairing can complete a mission.
Fascinating. Yeah.
And so
that's a great insight.
It just ends terribly. So, ultimately, it ends well.
Sure. Because it ends well, but yeah, so I love that. So someone in despair cannot complete a mission. So elaborate on that. I like that point.
So I think, despair is a horrible thing, obviously.
Sure.
And it, someone who's despairing, it probably has a lot of self-hatred and a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to put one foot in front of the other whenever you're in that place.
Yeah.
And, I think in many ways, a person or a world even that is despairing, they're not even thinking about thriving. They're just trying to survive. And so mission, so there's no room for mission. You're not even thinking about, because you don't think you have a purpose. And,
and mission implies greater purpose. And if you're not worth anything, then how can you contribute to a greater cause? Huh.
So I think, mercy and mission have to come together.
Yeah.
Can't separate them.
Yeah. Huh. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm going to use that line sometime. Am I allowed to steal that for a homily?
Sure.
Great. We'll see whenever it fits in. So it's an unfortunate thing about, using it without using it in a text. You never know when it'll show up. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But no, and I guess why do you think that it bothers you so much?
That Smeagol, that things ended the way. I think, so kind of how we talked about with Sam, of some of my issues with him. I think a lot of that is because, I have a certain affection and an empathy for Smeagol, because in some ways, I get where he's coming from.
Sure.
And some of those things that he, felt.
Yes.
I have also felt.
Yes.
And so you want a happy ending.
Yes.
Because you see yourself there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it. And then there's also, there's just this, this is going to sound so weird, but I just want to give Smeagol a hug.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I just want him to follow me around, and we can I just want to be his friend.
Yes.
And I think the reason for that is probably because I see there's a little reflection of me. And just the hurting parts of Smeagol.
Yes.
And so, so you want a happy ending.
Yeah.
And you want to see that, hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that what you want to see is is what I guess we want to see in all of ourselves is like the ability to sacrifice. Like that's ultimately what I think we want. We want to be able to sacrifice. And I think it's one of the most frustrating things in myself whenever I recognize that I'm not willing to let go of something. Mm-hmm. And I know that I should, because I know that that's the right thing first and foremost. And since it is the right thing, then the Lord's also probably going to give me some, like, maybe not like emotionally like joy, but he's going to give me something more if I let go. And I think that like that's a great representation of what the ring is, like a desire to possess all, like the ring of power, desire to possess everything. And we can't. And so the fact that it like all orients around like him desiring like that one thing that he thinks is like going to make him happy, but yet for the past like 500 years, or I think it was like something like that, it hasn't. And it just made him more and more miserable. And the only time that he had like any sort of joy is like whenever Frodo like showed him some love, and they're like, you see like this little reviving, and you like hear him laughing as he brings like, rabbits.
Yes, I love that.
So yeah, so it's like the one time where he's happy is like he's actually sacrificed, and so he goes outside of the camp and he goes and kills rabbits that usually he would probably want to just like eat himself, but he like throws them at Frodo's lap, and like, well, it's kind of disgusting, but you can see that Frodo's like delighted by the gift that has just been brought to him, and it's just, yeah, that's great. And so, but then like the lie that he tells, like the self-hatred part of himself tells him, is that unless he possessed the ring, he's like never going to be happy. Which I think is also like, yeah, while we don't have a ring of power, I think we all have like this idea that if this one situation is just exactly this way, I'll be happy. If I just have it this way, then everything will work out and I'll be able to have my joy, my happiness. And it never works out that way, because nothing like ever works out quite that like distinctly. Yeah. So yeah, that is hard to see. That's a great point that I guess I always kind of have felt that too, but I guess I've never really expressed it or forgot it maybe. I don't know. But yeah, there is something kind of troubling about the ending. Okay. Now that you say that.
I was wondering kind of what your stance was on that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's maybe even just a sadness because, to our faith, I guess, something we all assume that we all go to heaven. And it's like, oh, like maybe, like, well, I cannot make a judgment about anyone else. I still maybe need to acknowledge for myself that if I don't let go and allow God to be the one that works through me instead of like trying to manage everything myself, like there's a real danger for me that I will end up like despairing altogether. And then like, yeah, and then maybe eternity's not my destiny, and that's terrifying.
To say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. So, which is kind of dark, but at the same time, to your point, I think that's one of the reasons why, now that you say that, that's kind of disturbing, because it's like a reminder that, like, yeah, that I've got to cooperate and accept mercy and allow it to transform me in order for it to actually take an effect in my life. So, yeah. Yeah, so I think it's disturbing now. I think there's maybe like a way in which you can see God at work through that entire situation.
It was necessary.
Yes.
The ending.
Yes.
But still heartbreaking.
Yes, still heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then an indication of like how God still works through our brokenness.
Oh yeah.
So.
He uses all things for good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. You're right. That did take a little while, but that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was great. Do you have anything else on that? Sorry, I want to give you like another spot to like continue to pour out gems from that little thing there. That was great.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so, except just the call to obviously have mercy on others, ask for mercy from others, but then have mercy on yourself.
Yes. Have mercy on yourself. It's something, yeah.
Yeah. Which
I think is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still learning.
Oh yeah.
I feel like, I feel like that's the hardest one.
Yes, it is.
For me. Maybe for most people.
I think it is for most people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My experience of talking with people is people are extraordinarily hard on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that that's a hard one to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
In part because I think that there's a way in which you can like look at other people and like give them, like you said, like the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I can look at another person and be like, well, like, I can understand like why you're being bitter. Like maybe you're having a rough day. Maybe somebody was mean to you just like a little bit ago. Maybe you didn't get much sleep last night. Like, I don't know if you have a kid at home, like whatever.
Right.
You know, like there's a whole host of things I can make an excuse for everybody else. But like whenever it comes to me, it's like, it feels like if I do something malicious or cruel or just wrong, it feels like there's no good reason in my mind. And like, obviously there's not a good reason to commit sin.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that. So just to be clear, like
Right.
Father Jared's not saying it's okay at points,
Right.
but at the same time, there also needs to be a certain level of like understanding, like, you know, as I once heard a priest told me at a confessional, like, are you surprised that you're a sinner? Like, why does that still shock you? Like, it's not a good thing, but it's also something that's built into our human nature. Mm-hmm. And that's just like why our Savior needed to come and die for us. It's like, okay, good point.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think for me, that's why it's so hard. It's because I find it hard to like list, like I can get benefit of the doubt, but for me, like it's hard to just accept that God gives that to me non grata. And it's not that he's making an excuse. It's just that he wants to freely give that gift to me. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on, like, is for you personally, is that kind of a similar thing, or what do you think it is?
Yeah, I think, yeah, kind of like you said about people being very hard on themselves. Like, I think I take myself way too seriously.
Sure. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like, oh man, I really wish I didn't, but
Sure.
it's just like, yeah, there will be like moments, you know, where I mess something up at work, and it like, we're not even talking like sin. So like when it gets to sin, it can be even like worse.
Yes.
But just like a simple mistake, like I obviously didn't do it on purpose type of thing. And it's like, you know, you idiot, like how did you, and then it's like embarrassment, like these other people are going to, you know, and it's just like, I'm just like recognizing that I do take myself far too seriously. And to be honest, at this point in my journey, that's pretty much all I got, except that, like, I think as I learn to receive the love of others and the love of the Lord and the love of the Lord through others, I'm going to be more, I have a feeling I'm going to be more inclined to love myself back whenever I can.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's a process.
Yeah. That's a good way of,
Because I always like to think like what can we do to help this situation? Or to put into practice like this whole like forgiving yourself thing.
Yes.
And right now all I got is let other people love you.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. Yeah. And I think even in that, I think the struggle in that part of it for me sometimes is being willing to ask to be loved, to reach out and say like, hey, do you want to get dinner? To reach out and say, hey, do you want to do a podcast? You know, kind of thing. Like, you know, like just being willing to ask for those little, for people to give us mercy. Because I think we always think of ourselves as a burden on others.
Yeah.
And being willing to be like, well, maybe, but I'll let them make the decision whether or not they want to carry the burden. Like, you know, maybe that's just part of it, is like letting them make the decision. Yeah. Yeah. If they want to burden themselves with me, then so be it. Like, I'll be happy to receive that.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's a great one. Yeah. Being willing. I'm trying to think of like yeah, in that, what else I've seen other people do to overcome that, that difficulty in forgiving ourselves. And sometimes it's like, I don't even know how to make a distinction, but I always tell people, like, one of the clearest signs that I'm like in a good space spiritually is like whenever I make my first mistake of the day, because there's always going to be one at some point. And if my response is like a little bit of a chuckle at myself, then it's like, I'm in a good space, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like willing to kind of laugh at myself in that moment. And like, and I know if I'm in a bad place, if it's like, you idiot, like, I can't believe you just dropped your toothbrush. Like, what a loser, like those little things. Like, it seems like I don't say that out loud. I don't talk to myself like that, but in my head, like, that's what I'm thinking. Right. And then just like grit my teeth, like, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot. You're so stupid. Instead of being like dropping and being like, oh my gosh, like, I'm tired. Yeah. Like, which then is like the appropriate reaction. Like, oh yeah, I'm tired. Like, so I just dropped it because I'm kind of drowsy right now.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good kind of, I don't know, test about where
test,
you are spiritually.
Yeah.
I should use that.
And I guess asking people to help get you out of that, but that's just like a good indication to me of where I'm at. I don't exactly know how to get
oh yeah
from the one place to another, but it's just always just a good note of where I'm at. So yeah. So, anything else about mercy?
Well, probably, no.
You sure?
Probably not. Yeah. Yeah.
You sure?
I am sure.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I feel like we could like to talk about mercy for a really long time, but I don't have anything else that I'm like,
sure.
That's jumping out of me.
Well, I was going to say, if you want to share, I mean, I think we've gone quite a long time. So.
I think so too. I don't know how long.
I don't know how long either. I looked at my watch and I was like, I don't know when we got started, so who knows?
Yeah. If you're still with us, good job. Yes, congratulations.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. I don't know if good job is the right phrase. Maybe I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but we accept your mercy of entertaining us and allowing us to speak to you for this long. So at the very least, I got something out of the conversation. So I guess
too.
It was, So I guess two people got something out of it. Hopefully some of you out there get something out of it as well. So
yes.
So anything else? How did we end? We didn't discuss how we met.
We didn't. This was not part of the pre-production discussion.
Yes. So
let's say a Hail Mary.
Sure.
In the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
And St. Faustina,
pray for us.
Today is her feast day, so yes.
Which...
Oh my gosh, I did not realize that until now.
Okay, I was going to bring that up to you. I was going to say, did you do that on purpose? But I don't even know who picked the date of when we were going to record.
I think we just discussed it. So
okay, so
crazy.
So St. Faustina wanted this to happen.
Yes.
Us talking about mercy on her feast day.
That is very fitting. So nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time.
Yep. Farewell.
Ciao.